NACHO Sundays, every Sunday at 6 p.m. Live on YouTube on the EBL exclusive Battle League Network. Hosted by Fibonacci Brown.
Nacho Sundays, Nacho Sundays, Nacho Sundays. Nacho Sundays, Nacho Sundays, Nacho Sundays. Nacho cheese, beefy, nacho veggie, nacho supreme, nacho Sunday.
NACHO Sundays. Where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. Hosted by Fibonacci Brown.
Nacho Sundays. Nacho cheese, beefy, nacho veggie, nacho supreme,
Nacho Sundays. Where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. Hosted by Fibonacci Brown.
Nacho Sundays. Nacho cheese, beefy, nacho veggie, nacho supreme, nacho Sundays. Nacho Sundays. Nacho Sundays. Nacho Sundays.
Hosted by Fibonacci Brown. Don't forget to go to FibonacciBrown.com to get your copy of Growing Down.
Nacho Sundays. Nacho Sundays.
Brought to you by the exclusive Battle League Network. EBL.
What up, though, family? I know you guys are like, listen, Nacho, you said 6 o'clock on Sundays. This is not 6 o'clock on Sundays. Listen, there have been some major things going on today. For me, there have been great things. I've been having an amazing day when it comes to some other creative things I'm working on. So I have been extremely busy. And I know last week we didn't do Nacho Sundays, but for what it's worth, it was Super Bowl. So I wasn't going to expect my Nachotarians who enjoy sports to give up Super Bowl to watch Nacho Sundays. So we didn't do Nacho Sundays, but I do appreciate those of you who have stayed with us to support us in the beginnings of Nacho Sunday season 2, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. And we have got a ton to talk about. I am eager to kind of get to some of the things that are on the announcements plate this morning. This evening, one of the first things I wanted to talk about is the card coming up. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try to find the card so that I can read off some of these battles. The card is going to be on February 23rd. It's EBL versus Jag. And then there's going to be another card that's going to be on Goods channel coming up on March 8th. So there are quite a few things in store. And I just want to make sure that I get those names correct on that card. So I'm going to find that for you. And also, I know there's been some things that you guys may have questions about. And we're going to talk about some of it here in the announcements. But then we're going to move on through our nacho. I know you guys are hungry. And I'm hungry too. I'm ready to devour the nachos. So listen. You get your snacks, tune in, sit tight. I'm going to find the card names for the battles that are coming up with the Jag versus EBL card, and I am going to read those to you. We will be right back. And I'm back. I've got those names for you. Again, this is going to be EBL versus JAG. It's going to be on February 23rd. So the battle's going down on that card is going to be Brills versus Newborn. If any of you people are familiar with Brills, you already know that he is going to bring it. And I'm anxious to kind of see that one myself. We also have Villa versus Pro. I have been messing up Pro's name for two straight episodes of Nacho Sundays. I want to make sure I get it correct this time. It's Villa versus Pro. Villa is one of my faves, so I'm looking forward to that battle as well. Spasmatic versus Quest the God. Lockhart versus Big Kane Marco. Jay Normus versus Bully Man Mike. Jay Normus has not let me down in the last couple of battles that I've seen him in, so I am excited to see what he's going to do in this battle. Again, this is going to be on the 23rd of this month. Additionally, we have Art versus Traumatos, and the S in Tos is with the $sign. So if you are looking up to see any of the battles that either of these gentlemen have been in, make sure you put the $sign in there on Traumatos. We also have Miss Vicious versus Everything Sin. So I can't wait. I think on this card, Miss Vicious is the only woman, so I can't wait to see what she does with this one. We also have Punch Guy versus Tay Spears, C Note versus Little K, and I am also hearing that Danny Myers is going to be one of the guest judges for this battle. So make sure that you are subscribed to all of the accurate social medias for JAG as well as EBL Exclusive Battle League. If it ain't exclusive, it don't matter. And you are tuned in for the 23rd. Additionally, there's also going to be a card on March 8th. This card is going to be hosted on Goods Channel, and it is going to host, I believe, a handful of battles right now that are still being put together. I wouldn't miss this one. I can't wait to pull up and see what this. From what I understand, they also are reworking the name for that card. So I believe it was called Big Steppers 2, but I think they are going to change it to Pay Homage. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge for people who show up on that card. They're going to have to pay homage and make sure it's worth the watch. So make sure you pull up for this card on March 8th, the Pay Homage card on Goods Channel, as well as the EBL versus JAG card. I believe it's called Massacre 3. And that's going to be on EBL and JAG. I believe that's going to be a Twitter Spaces too. So it's going to be streaming in quite a few places. Make sure you are subscribed to everything you need to be subscribed to so you can catch those battles. Additionally, make sure you guys are pulling up to FibonacciBrown.com. FibonacciBrown.com. I have a website. I'm a published author. I've written a book called Growing Down, The Observation of the Masculinization of the Black American Woman. It is still at the introductory price. We've been doing quite well at that price, so I am reluctant to change it. So if you make sure that you pull up to the FibonacciBrown.com website, you can catch my book at the introductory price. You can also see a couple of early episodes of the Nacho Sundays show from season 1, as well as some other shots and pictures and things that are available on the site in our media section. So make sure you check that out. Additionally, I have some music projects that I'm going to be prepared to show you some snippets on the next Nacho Sunday show. Right now, we are in editing. We're doing some finalizations. We've seen some rough cuts. And when I tell you these visuals are going to be phenomenal, it's going to be for our single to the Description Volume 2 album called Oplings. I can't wait to show you. Just be on the lookout for that. Make sure you are subscribed to all of my social media so that you can catch that and you don't miss out. Moving forward, I noticed that over the past couple of days, there have been quite the discussion about a former member of EBL. And I'm not going to delve too deeply into it. I just want to say that for what I have seen of Dave in EBL, I've not seen any of the suggested behaviors that have so fruitlessly and viciously been said about this man. That has not been my experience. I can't say that I am witness to anything of such. I will also take ownership and say that, I'm not around people 24/7. I don't know the inner workings of the virtual families that virtual family members that I engage on the internet. So that's not to point the finger at anybody, but I will vouch for that man to say that I have not seen such in my experience in EBL. I do know that I am rather one of the newer faces in EBL, so I'm not familiar completely with all of the history. But for what it's worth and for what I have been exposed to, that none of what he is being accused of has been my experience. Dave is a family man, from what I have been able to tell. He has a beautiful family, beautiful daughters, and he has not made anything seem that anything suggested would be any behavior that I have ever seen. So I do pray that everything that's going on right now is going to settle in a place that is a better place for everyone involved. And we on the Nacho Sunday show want to extend our understanding to the situation. And we do pray that it gets to a place where everything works out to be the way that it should. With that said, I'm going to slide over to my chat. As you guys know, the Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion, and my chat matters over here. So we are going to check out the chat and see who pulled up to help us celebrate season 2, episode 3 of Nacho Sundays. Hold on, Platinum Tooth. Platinum Tooth is in the building. I've seen different variations of the tooth. So welcome, Platinum Tooth. Thank you for pulling up with us on Nacho Sundays. Road to a Meal Media. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And my EBL family exclusive battle league is in the house. Lyrically inclined, Jay Normus. Jay Normus is going to be on that card I mentioned on the February 23rd, the Jag versus EBL card. Make sure you check him out. He is in the chat. So if you want to reach out to him, make sure you have all of his social media so you can pull up when he is doing his battle. He is in the chat, you guys. One of my faves, 2-1 is in the building. That is my better half, who is going to be with me on the Scription Volume 2 album. And he is also on the other side of the Oplings single that we will be releasing very soon. We are getting the visuals tight. I'm excited. I can't wait to show you guys. I'm definitely going to be showing you on Nacho Sunday. So make sure you are back here next Sunday so you can catch that. And it will be at 6 o'clock. Okay. I'm not going to make you guys wait again. Let's see who else. Chip Low South. Salute. Appreciate you for pulling up. Thank you so much. Sean Xavier. Thank you so much for pulling up. Yes, I know he said former, and I did say that Dave was a former member of EBL. I am only reiterating what he had stated previously this morning about such. And it's just a way that he can move to do other things that he wants to expand his abilities to. So it's not to say that we don't look at Dave as someone that we will stop communicating with. He's definitely been a major part of some great things that have happened in EBL. And as far as I know, he's still considered to be someone that or we are still considered to be a platform that he can still reach out to if he wants to. So yes, unfortunately, we still have love for Dave on the Nacho Sunday show. I know Dave normally pops in every once in a while. We have the baby hair jokes, so we will miss that about him, but we do wish him the very best in his future endeavors. So listen, guys, we have got quite the topics to talk about here on Nacho Sundays. Our nacho is indeed layered, and the way that we like to start our Nacho Sunday show, we get started by talking about the nacho cheese, and the nacho cheese is our money. What is going on with our money? Ways we can use our money. What's happening with our money? Ways we can make our money work for us. We're going to talk about all of those types of things in the Nacho Cheese of the Nacho Sunday show, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. So in this week's Nacho Cheese, we are talking about the I, the R, and the S. Okay. Now, that's the one entity they say nobody should ever play with is the IRS. If you want to make sure your affairs are straight, you should probably start with the IRS. Well, the reason I'm bringing up the IRS and our money is because I'm not sure how many people are aware, but to me, I think they trying to set us up. I think they trying to play in our face because I read that the money and income that you have to claim is not just limited to maybe an additional job, child support payments, a winning from a lottery. It definitely exceeds even that when it comes to other income you have to claim. So I'm not sure how many in my audience were aware, but we when we think about additional income, I know I wasn't thinking this, but according to the IRS, if you have accepted a bribe of any kind, you need to report that as income. Yes, you heard me correctly, a bribe. So if you've accepted a bribe, you need to tell the IRS, yes, I accepted this bribe. And in addition to the $50,000 I made this month, I also, or this year, I've also accepted 5,000 additional dollars in bribe money. And you're expected to report that income. Now, if you're not going to tell that you took the bribe, I'm certainly not understanding why you would report the income. But according to the IRS, this is something that you should do. You need to report any bribe money that that you've taken over the year and report that and claim that into your income. I see Capology Facts is in my chat. Thank you so much for pulling up. I am doing wonderful. I hope you are doing well also. Salute to you. Also, the IRS has said that if you have found any property and kept it, if it has any value, that found property, you need to report that as income. Okay. So if you were walking down the street and you saw somebody threw a perfectly good bicycle in the trash and you took it. Well, no, I can't say if you threw it in the trash because then it's not claimed as property. Let's say something maybe you found a wallet with no ID in it in the bathroom or something that had some cash in it, had $200-300 in cash in it, and you kept it. The IRS is saying that you need to report that as income. You need to claim that on your taxes as income. So the IRS is saying bribes and property that you found that you did not return, that is also income that you need to claim. Now, it doesn't stop there. The IRS is wilding. Okay, so and this is tax season. We are definitely at the beginning of tax season. I know that a lot of times companies are required to send out W-2s and tax forms of that nature by the end of January, which is January 31st. And here we are at the mid-February mark. So I know that people are setting up their tax arrangements to get in to see their tax person. And these types of things, I'm sure they're not considering that if you took a bribe, you need to report it as income, or if you found some property that you didn't return, that you need to claim that as income. But the IRS said, yes, that's claimed income. You need to put that into your income. Additionally, I know that some of us might have considered this, but if you got a reward, let's say that there was a lost puppy that showed up on your porch and you took the puppy happily back to the owner, and the owner said, oh my gosh, this puppy is like my family. Here's $500 for giving our dog back. You got to report that as income. Now, I know some of us might not have thought, they probably thought, hey, it's a reward. It should be tax-free. I did a good thing. If you got a reward or got any kind of tip or bonus of any kind, you need to report that into your income. So lastly, or no, not lastly, another thing that they said that you need to report into your income. Now, I know we talked about found property. If you found something and you kept it, that needs to be taken into income. but it's also saying that if you stole some property, if you stole anything, you need to report that into income. You need to report fair market value. This is what my notes say. You need to report the fair market value for that property and claim it into your income on your taxes. I don't think that I've ever considered that the IRS would suggest that you tell on yourself for doing crimes through your tax return. But if you've accepted bribes, if you have stolen any property, and either of those things, you need to report that as income on your taxes. If you found any property that you didn't return, and if you got a reward, you need to report that into your income as well. So I guess the question I'm asking is, if you don't report it, how is the IRS going to find out? Like, are they going to, scroll your Instagram or your Facebook to see, you're out here flexing with extra $200, you put it in your taxes? Is that what's going to happen? Like, how? I'm very interested to see how you enforce such. Lastly, in that list of the things that you need to claim into your income, to all of my doughboys, to all of those who have suggested the darker, seedier side of making money in turn to selling substances, you substance sellers, you need to claim that money as income. I am not kidding, you guys. This is on the IRS website. If you go over to irs.com, you check under the types of income section on their website. And if you scroll down towards the bottom of what you can actually, the section that describes what you can actually claim, you're going to find everything I'm talking about and corroborated. And I'm flabbergasted. I am floored. I think that if you are going to tell Uncle Sam that you're selling drugs, stealing, or taking bribes, just cuff yourself. Just cuff yourself and go sit down on the porch at the police department, because I don't understand the logic. I don't. Are you going to be able to use that to your advantage if you get brought up on charges? And you're like, well, I did claim it on my taxes. Like, how is that helpful? Like, help me understand. I'm not understanding how this is something that's going to stop at just what you claim on your taxes. I would fully be expecting someone to either knock on my door, use my tax return as a confession, and not even give me my day in court. Just cuff me and walk me into my cell. Maybe I'm tripping. Is this something? Are there people out there who think that, you know what, if they're making that money, they should pay taxes on it? Isn't that going against your freedom? Like, am I tripping? Or maybe, let me check with my chat. Maybe I'm going overboard. I see Capology Facts is keeping the chat going. I appreciate that. And Stream Elements, make sure you hit the like. I think that's a very good tidbit of advice. Make sure you hit the like. Share the live if you're feeling the vibe. If you care, share. And I see our very own King is in the chat. Make sure you guys pull up to the chat. I do like to check in with my chat frequently throughout the show. They are a big part of my show. And I enjoy adding your opinion in sometimes with the NACHO Sundays, NACHO opinion. Yes, indeed. You guys are showing out today. I appreciate you guys for showing up and pulling up to the NACHO Sundays Season 2, Episode 3, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. But yes, the IRS is expecting you to tell on yourselves. Now, I don't know of anybody who would be willing to do such. If you took like, how many of us out there, if you took a bribe, would you be willing to report it on your taxes as income? If you stole something, how many of us are willing to take it as income on our taxes? Who's really willing to do that? And then is there a flip side in the reverse? Is there a flip side in the reverse where if you don't report it and then they find out you took the bribe, is there some kind of tax ramification because you didn't report it? Is there some kind of tax ramification that you didn't report you were convicted of stealing something that you didn't tell on your, like, I'm trying to see what the underworking of that is. Because to me, once you submit that on your taxes, that's a confession. You told on yourself. You can't even, that's open and shut. I would, if I was an attorney, I would be going through the tax company, see who told that they, how many people actually told they took a bribe? How many people actually told they stole something? How many people actually told they were selling drugs and here's the income? I don't know if I can say that, forgive me. Substances. I just don't know of anybody willing to even take that chance to tell on themselves and say, yeah, I did this through it, and tell on themselves in a way to as to put it on there, to make a record of it. You know how long they keep your maybe I'm tripping, but I didn't think, when you stole something, you filed a tax return. People who steal likely will use kids that aren't theirs to get more money on a tax return. I don't see them telling on themselves that they stole in the first place. So maybe it's just me. I see 2-1 that said IRS be like, allow you to rat on you. Exactly. Like, why? That's a confession. And again, like I said, I'm wondering about the flip side. If you, let's say, some unfortunate circumstance, you're convicted of stealing or bribes or illegal substance selling, and you didn't report it on your taxes. Do they come back after you? It's like, you didn't report this on your taxes. Here's another charge. Like, how does that work? But again, you can definitely cross-reference all of everything I'm telling you on the IRS website. If you go over to irs.com and look at the types of income that can be claimed, scroll down to the section that talks about types of income. All of this is there, among other things. But these are the ones, I wrote down the ones that stood out to me. Capology says, no, there are many stupid people out here telling on themselves. So I see somebody doing that. In Cap, here's my thoughts on that, because I see how you got there. You have some people out here who are so money hungry that not only will they not be satisfied with the fact that they took a bribe, stole something, or sold substances, but it's like, tax returns can be, huge if you file them right. You could get a couple of bands back if you file it right. Let's file a tax on all of this and really, really expect a check. What do you think is going to get there first? The knock on the door to say, hey, cuff yourself and get in the back seat, or here's your tax return check. Here's your income tax check. What do you think is going to end up showing up at your door first? I'm curious to see your thoughts on this. Because this is just, I have never even heard of tell on yourself income tax. This is news to me, but I thought that for my viewing audience, and that, in my opinion, and again, this is Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. In my opinion, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't, I just wouldn't, I understand that some people are like, they should pay taxes too. But if I'm in that life, I don't see me signing my own confession by putting it in my tax record. Like, come on. But again, if it can be used to give leniency should you be caught, you're like, well, I did do these things, but I filed taxes on it. Will that help you in court? Then there may be a little motivation to do so, but I don't know, guys. That doesn't seem like that's going to work in your favor if you do that. I don't see that being a good thing by telling on yourself through your taxes. But we're about halfway into the Nacho Sunday show, which means we are finally digging into our nacho. And before we move on to some other layers in the nacho, we're going to take a slight break. But we will be right back and we'll see you in a second.
You are now listening to the NACHO Podcast, brought to you by the EBL Network. If it ain't exclusive, it don't matter. It's not your time to talk, it's time to listen. So pull up to the table with your plate and pay attention. It's not your time to talk, NACHO Sunday. It's something different. This is not your opinion, and you don't wanna miss it. It's not your time to talk. Time for the show.
And we're back. And I want to make sure that we give Commodity his flowers. Commodity is definitely behind the scenes on a lot of things that make the world go round in the EBL production space. And he is the voice that you heard on our midtro. It's not your time to talk. Hey, it's time to listen. He is a Grammy Award writing and singing audio battle winner. I'm making that up, but definitely a jewel on the EBL team. So shout out to Commodity. Also, getting into our nacho, we are going to move into the beefy nacho. And in the beefy nacho on the Nacho Sunday show, we talk about conflict wherever it may exist in the world. And this week in the Nacho Sundays beefy nacho, we are talking about food critics versus a city near you. What is going on? The Keith Lee effect and the Mr. Chime Time effect. People are upset. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? They are not happy with the food critics' reviews of the food in their cities, and they are taking to their social medias to express such. And some of these, what could have been good deeds, are definitely going left. One of those instances is in the food critic Keith Lee versus Sweetly Seasoned. For some of you guys, you may already be familiar, but for those of you who are not, Keith Lee is a food critic who travels to different businesses, small businesses, to draw attention to those areas and hopefully spike an uptick in their Patreon or their patronage by other people in the city. So usually when he visits these places, the lines end up going out the door. And in one such instance, he visited a food truck called Sweetly Seasoned. And which he's done in the past, he gave a donation to this truck and the truck supporters and affiliates. One of the people that he wanted to give some money to was a young lady who was doing braids. She was braiding hair outside of the food truck. And there was also a gentleman there giving out hair, or I won't say giving out haircuts, doing haircuts for $40 outside of the food truck. So bringing those small businesses together to create a bit of an atmosphere and a vibe in the space, along with the Sweetly Seasoned food, Keith Lee made a donation where he talked with the owner of the food truck and said to her that I'm going to give you roughly around $4,000, and I want to give $1,000 to the barber so he can do free haircuts, and I want to give $1,000 to the braider so she can braid hair, and the rest for you, and you divide that up how you see fit. The woman from Sweetly Seasoned took the money and decided she was going to give her son $1,000 and keep the rest. And her reasoning was that she was told to divide the money how she saw fit. So ultimately there was a miscommunication, and the miscommunication was in the divide how you see fit, where the owner of Sweetly Seasoned took that to mean she should be in charge of determining who should get some money. Keith Lee meant it in the sense of you, the barber, and the braider determine how you want to receive the money since I'm only giving it to one person electronically. Do you want to get it via Zelle? Do you want to get it via Cash App? Do you want to cash it out? Should I write you a check? However you see fit. Not that you should undo the direction that Keith Lee had already given as to how the funds should be distributed. This woman at Sweetly Season doubled down to say that she didn't think she was wrong in keeping the money. And even though many in her live, many in her commentary or in her comments tried to explain that, you know, you definitely misunderstood the direction. That man told you exactly what to do with that money, and you have done everything to reword what he said so that you can keep this money. And ultimately, she said that these people that were supposed, the braider and the barber, they had to come down to where she was to get the money. For some reason, she couldn't electronically give them the money the way that she electronically received it. So it just made for what could have been a really great situation. Because again, when Keith Lee visits many of these small businesses, many of these restaurants, they ultimately see an influx in business. This could have been great for her. This could have been great for her business going forward, and especially for people coming out of town who want to maybe take a taste of what she has to offer because of the vouching of Keith Lee. But because she made such a stink about a couple of $1,000, that really, if you were a good person, you wouldn't have disregarded what Keith Lee said in the first place. You wouldn't be finding a way to keep it. You wouldn't be putting your, you know, we work hard, and you know how that should impact not doing what that man said. It really was a bad look. I felt that, you know, as a Black woman, I really wanted to see her successful. I wanted to see her do the numbers that usually come along with the Keith Lee stamp. And it was just really unfortunate. And in my opinion, and again, this is Nacho Sundays, whereas Nacho opinion is Nacho's opinion. In my opinion, I don't think that that woman initially had her heart in the right place, because if you thought that people who had come to help you take orders, help bring attention to your venue in the hope that Keith Lee would visit, because from what I understand from Keith Lee, there was no guarantee that he was going to come to your spot. It was just that he was in your city. And a lot of restaurants were, fingers crossed, hoping that they would get a visit from the Keith Lee. So from what I was understanding, this woman was like, you know, well, Keith Lee was coming. They was just trying to meet Keith Lee. From what I understand, Keith Lee had no guarantee that he was going to come to your spot. So these people decided to pull together and pull in their resources as people who or faces around the city to get enough people there to attract Keith Lee to come. I think if your heart was in the right place, you would have wanted to do the right thing anyway. And to try to find reasons to not do the right thing, it was just shameful. And I think that the young lady, the braider, to me, she's one of the heroes in this whole thing, because not only did she say she didn't even want the money, she wanted the money. She just didn't want them to mistreat her brother, the barber. And she wanted him to get what was coming to him. And then there was also another business that ended up being affected that had a similar name. This business was called Sweetly Season. And there was another business that had a similar sounding name that was getting some of the threats and the backlash that should have been directed at Sweetly Season. And this young lady, the braider, and forgive me if I keep calling her the braider, I'm just trying to make sure I keep the personality straight in this dynamic. You guys can research this on your own, and definitely, if you want to go further and reach out to the people involved, do so. But anywho, the braider decided that she was going to do something to make up for some of the backlash that they unjustly received. You know, they catching strays because their name sounded similar to some drama that got nothing to do with them. So she decided to clean that up. So I thought that that was pretty stellar of her as a young lady. And I could appreciate the way that she's shown up in this moment as a Black woman in comparison to how this woman over at Sweetly Season decided to put her foot forward. I do hope that there was a lesson learned by this woman, because it wasn't a good look. And as a woman of a certain age, we definitely expect a little more wisdom in the moves that you make. And when it isn't there, it is a little more disappointing in my eyes. And again, this is Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. And yes, I was a little disappointed that her intentions weren't in a place to suggest that her maturation was seasoned the way that it should be. So I hope she learned her lesson. I do hope that her business can recover from anything that has come of her having to face the music in this instance. And I hope that the accountability is proper and that she can move on. She said she has some other things she was going to be doing with her business. So I'm hoping that she's able to do those things and move on. But definitely, I hope she learns her lesson. There's also a gentleman who has been in my city. I'm a D girl, Detroit. Hey, 313. Okay. What up, though? Anywho, there's a gentleman in our city. His name is Mr. Chime Time, and he has been here, I believe, for at least the past month or so. And there are people who are just completely upset at some of his reviews of some of their favorite restaurants. And I've been kind of taken aback a lot by some of the backlash, I'll say. There are people who want to see him get his channel taken down. There are people who are telling him leave the city. You need to go home, go back to South Carolina. They are really, some people in my beloved city have not been putting their Detroit love foot forward. And I was just a little disappointed at that. But at the same time, we have had some people who have definitely welcome Mr. Chime Time and his opinions. And they are hoping that he actually moves here. So from what I'm understanding, Mr. Chime Time is looking at some property in Detroit. So if you are thinking about becoming a Detroiter, welcome, Mr. Chime Time. A couple of things I wanted to touch on a couple of his reviews. He made a review on spaghetti. He said that he had some of the worst spaghetti he had ever had in his life. I'm not going to mention the restaurant. But I will mention that I, in particular, made a comment on that review or on that pre-review. And I had to explain to him that if you do not know Detroit etiquette, let me help you. Detroiters, we do not go to anybody's restaurant to buy spaghetti at all. Ever. We do not go to a restaurant to buy spaghetti. We go to our auntie's house for spaghetti. We go to grandma and them house for spaghetti. We make it at home. We do not. I have never, in all of my decades of living in this city, I've never heard anybody say, the spaghetti is really good over at such and such, or the spaghetti slaps over it. Never. I've gone to soul food restaurants who will give you a scoop of spaghetti on the side of whatever you order. A lot of times it comes like when you order wings. It used to be you could go to certain restaurants, the soul food restaurants in the city. You order some wings. They give you a little scoop of spaghetti, maybe some green beans or something, or something like that. I can't remember people really ever liking or even eating the spaghetti. It was the coleslaw of the meal. Like people just didn't eat it. I don't know anybody, none of my friends, cousins, nothing. Nobody has ever said, we're going to go grab some spaghetti over at such and such. It's just not a Detroit thing. You don't go to restaurants. If you come to Detroit to visit and you're trying to look at the food scene, do not go to a restaurant to get spaghetti. It's just not a Detroit thing to do. We don't do that. We don't eat spaghetti at people's restaurants. Now, we will get pasta. We might get your lasagna, your veggie lasagna, your Alfredo, your chicken Alfredo, your veggie Alfredos. We might do that, but we are not coming to get your spaghetti. You have got us completely messed up. If anybody in Detroit, or if anybody's coming to visit Detroit, and they tell you, yeah, go check out the spaghetti over such, you think twice. Because I don't know, I've never recommended spaghetti spots to anybody ever. Now, if you just want to try something, you want to be a little adventurous to say, yeah, we went to Detroit and that's what we did, you go for it. I know there's one spot in particular, a lot of people like to try to come and visit when they are in the city, but we don't go to spaghetti spots in Detroit. That's not what we do. Another thing, there's another local restaurant that has a couple of locations. And for some reason, they recommended that Mr. Chime Time go and visit this one of these restaurant locations in this chain, and he said it's the worst food he's had since he's been on this tour. And I want to say that for this particular restaurant, again, I am not going to name names. My Detroiters know what I'm talking about. But we don't go there for the food. We go for the ambiance and the drinks. And the food is something you do in between the drinks. That's why the food tastes doable, because it's in between the drinks. You're there to show off your outfit, maybe do a little mid-grade balling, meet up with the local cheers gang. You got a favorite drink you drink on Thursday nights. You want to be loud out in public and have a good couple belly chuckles. That's what that particular restaurant was for. Never the food. It's popular for the ambiance and drinks, not the food. The food was something that it became hit or miss, because a lot of times the cook, something was going on with the cooks. You didn't get the same meal twice if you ordered it in different locations or at different times. So in all the times I've been going, it's always just been a good vibe. It's never been that I want to go back for a certain dish. The food was just something to do in between drinking. So I'm not sure who's giving Mr. Chime Time his tour guide around the city, but I'm hoping that he doesn't have too many more bad food experiences. We are definitely entertained by his criticism of his food. And I want to say this to the people who have these critics visiting their cities, and you guys are just awfully threatening these critics. Understand that this is food they paid for. You should be able to say what you want to say about food you paid for. Because if I get some food and I'm not happy about how it tastes, what I was expecting versus what I received, if I can't talk freely about that without getting threatened, we are in a sad state of affairs. Because again, this is Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. And in my opinion, if I want to talk about some food I paid for, doggone it, I'm gonna go live and talk about some food I paid for. And if I don't like it, I don't like it. Now, you can feel how you want to feel, but I know for some of the places that were mentioned by Mr. Chime Time that he said had, some not so desirable tasting food, he wasn't wrong. Some of these places he was not wrong. I can vouch. So I can say, yeah, it is nasty. It wasn't what it was cracked up to be. I was definitely oversold and underwhelmed. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm not mad at some of the reviews he gave, because I agreed with him. And he paid for the food. That's his right. You can't be like, oh, he's from Detroit. You ain't from Detroit. You visiting. You can't say nothing bad about the food. That's a lie. That's a lie. I put my money on some food and I didn't get what I paid, or I thought I paid for. You might hear about it. So again, I hope Mr. Chime Time is enjoying his time in the city. We are definitely entertained by your critique of our restaurants. We do hope that you enjoy your stay, and we might need to get a vegan thing going where you do a vegan tour around the city. If not, I might have to get with my bae and we do our tour around the city on a vegan tip. So I would love to see that come to fruition one way or another. So for a second, I'm gonna slide over to my chat. I do see that some more people have pulled up. I see Dave was in the chat. Dave is sending a heart of love. We send it back, Dave. We hope all is well. We see Commodity in the chat. Thank you for pulling up. Please hit the like. Hit the like if you like. And share the live if you're feeling the vibe. Miss Vicious has pulled up. I appreciate you pulling up to the Nacho Sundays Season 2, Episode 3. And also, I'm seeing that we have SK in the chat. SK, I have not seen you in quite some time in the chat. I'm glad to see you. Thank you for pulling up to Nacho Sundays. Bunny is in our chat. She is giving some commentary on the food critic. She said, I take food back, I get refunded. I don't play about that. And Bunny, I agree. If you don't like your food, especially if you paid for it, if you want to go live and talk about it, I think that you should be able to do that without the bidders of the city threatening to have your channel taken down and do something to you because you don't like the food. That's a little harsh. And I also think that when you invest a lot into what other people think, at some point you've got to be able to say, you know what, I need to have my own experience. I need to have my own experience with this food. I need to have my own experience going to this place. I need to have my own experience watching this show. Like, you can't always take everybody's opinion for something. Somebody's palate, their taste palette might be different than yours. And you might actually like something that they think is disgusting. So, have your own experience with the food. You can't wait on a food critic to chew the food for you. You might be dealing with a food critic who doesn't like red sauce, and you're getting their opinion on spaghetti. So you might want to have your own opinion or have your own experience with the food so that you can have your own opinion. For one, I enjoy food entirely too much to let someone else deter me from going to get try a dish or try some food that I'm interested in. Now, as many of you may know, I am a vegetarian. I haven't eaten meat in 10 years. And my palate is a little different than, say, someone who is a meat eater. Not to say that I don't know how to cook meat or prepare meat, but I'm probably not who you want to ask how the chicken is somewhere. You understand? But I like pasta dishes. I like vegetarian dishes. I like eggplant dishes. I know I had a really good eggplant parmesan. It was made to perfection. The sauce was delicious. Everything complemented everything else rather well. And I know that you can't really push that type of food off on somebody to say, hey, try this. So, everybody's palate is different. So you may you might have to just have your own experience with the food so that you can develop your own opinion of the food. You can't wait around for some food critic to come and taste the food for you. It's not fair to you, and it's not fair to them. That's a lot of pressure. They're giving their own opinion, like that food critic giving his opinion, like I do on this show on Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. Your opinion has to matter to you. You might like something that somebody else doesn't like. So have your own experience with the food. Stop getting so passionately upset and bitter with these food critics who are giving their opinion on food they paid for. If you pay for it, you should be able to give your opinion. Like some of you are being really harsh, I think, when it comes to your criticism of these people talking about the food in your city. They're talking about food that comes from some of your favorite places to hang out. And just because you like to hang out there does not mean that they can cook any good food out of there. I've been to restaurants, or I won't even say restaurants, more like bar and grills, where the bar is a good vibe. They make excellent drinks. You can catch the game. It's good laughs, good people. But the food, ain't nobody gonna come back for this food. They're there for the martinis. They're there for the Patron mixes and so on. So we can't get mad at people calling that out, especially if they come from a different city, different town. They're visiting here. We want them to have a good time, and we want them to feel comfortable about being able to say what their opinion is. And in my opinion, and again, this is Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. In my opinion, a lot of the places that I was familiar with, these food critics talked about, he was telling the truth. It ain't good. Okay. Definitely oversold and underwhelmed. Okay. So moving on. Speaking of food, we are going to move over to the veggie nacho. And those are my nachotarians who are tuning in. Faithfully know that in the veggie nacho is where we talk about our health. And in this week's episode of the Veggie Nacho Health Edition, we're going to be talking about an article that I saw floating around the internet where meat was being made from human feces. Yeah. Japanese scientists in a 2011 article said on the Fox News website that they had a sewage problem. And in an effort to find productive ways to control the sewage issue, one scientist had decided that the amount of protein that's lost in trying to get rid of sewage could be repurposed and recycled into feces steaks. that could be consumed by the public. So from what I understand, this was actually a viable option because they said you could actually swim around in the sewage. Now, I don't care how hard times get. I'm not eating a feces steak. Not gonna happen. They said that this particular feces steak constructed by this scientist has as much as 60 is made of as much as 63% protein. So it's supposed to provide a good protein punch as well as the double whammy of helping control the sewage problem. Now, again, I did mention that I found this article on foxnews.com from 2011. I was not able to find any updates. So I was not able to find out if they did anything to get this meat into circulation, if they had done anything to maybe introduce this meat into their markets. But what I did come across was lab grown meat. Now, many of you, again, my Nachotarians know that in season 1, we definitely talked about lab grown meat. And that was one of the reasons why I suggested to my audience that we look into growing our own food, because some of the things they are using in these lab grown meats are not things that we would approve of if we could know exactly what the short and long name is in the ingredients. So my mind immediately went to lab grown meat, feces meat. Is the feces patty the precursor to the lab grown meat? And where's the lab getting the components to grow meat? We're not talking about a daisy, a ear of corn, a bean. We talking about meat they're making in a lab, whether it's a feces patty or a chemical patty for at this point. But are these is this a precursor of what we're seeing now with this lab grown meat? I've seen places where they are trying to get, or countries where they're trying to get lab grown meat banned. And they are also definitely trying to make sure that this meat is not introduced into the diets of children through public schools. So there's a real concern there. And I know that sometimes when we get these technologies and food from overseas, they tend to come with a hook. We get lettuce that's got a vaccine in it, or a lettuce looks like a liquid you pour in the water and you shape it with your fingers to look like lettuce. Like, we get a lot of faux food coming from overseas from certain places, and I'm not totally convinced that food is healthy. Now, when I looked at what some of the consequences could be of consuming feces, human feces at that, a couple of things that came up was E. coli, salmonella, of course, nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, fever. But going a little deeper, when you consume something like that, you're looking at things like hepatitis E, hepatitis A, and not to mention the obvious parasites. Can you imagine? Now I'm already leery of sushi. I don't know how many of my nachotarians are sushi eaters, but there was a huge thing about some of the worms that can be found in sushi, especially if you consume a lot of sushi. They showed a gentleman who had worms just attached to just about every organ in his body, and it didn't look healthy at all. So I can't imagine what can attach to your body on the inside if you're consuming feces on any level, human or otherwise. I was floored. I was flabbergasted, in my opinion. And again, this is Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. Nobody eat no feces. Feces? Why is you even wasting money figuring that out? Like, if wherever they live, I would be upset that my tax dollars are being used to R&D boo-boo patties. Like, it's just not healthy. And then how do you sell that? What name could you give it to make it sound appealing enough for public consumption? Because the first thing I'm thinking is that they're probably not going to put something like that in your market. They're probably not going to put it in the supermarket for you to buy. They're going to go to the huge chains that consume a lot of burgers. That's your McDonald's, your Burger Kings, your Wendy's, your Jack in the Boxes. They're going to try to go to them. Like, hey, I got this cheaper boo-boo patty. You want to check it out? So I don't eat meat. I don't have a dog in the fight, but I do have nachotarians who still may be consuming meat, and I implore you to look into some of the things that go into those products. I'm not convinced that the meat industry is going in the right way when you have a precursor of boo-boo patties, and here in current day and age we have lab grown meat. Neither of them sound very doable, meat eater or not. I definitely don't want my vegetables on the plate with my boo-boo patty. And so it's not, no ma'am, no ma'am. I wouldn't be doing it. So I would implore you guys, as I always say on this show, grow your own food if you can. Try to keep your circle and cycle of consumption as far away from other hands and chemicals as possible, because it's turning into more and more of an experiment. I'm not interested in being anybody's experiment. And a lot of times these people are coming up with boo-boo patties and they don't know 10 years from now, when you got a third ear and four eyes, they're going to be far away somewhere with the money they made on boo-boo patties. And you just, you somewhere stuck looking goofy because they knew what they did to it. So they never ate it. They don't got four eyes and 3 ears. It's just you. So I wouldn't take the chance. And again, if you want to take the chance, I don't want to offend none of my meat eaters, but you came over here for Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. And in my opinion, I wouldn't be eating boo-boo patties and lab-grown meat and none of that other stuff. Period. Point blank. Done. And we are at the end of our show. And towards the end of the show, you know that we like to do the Nacho Supreme. We wrap up our nacho with the Nacho Supreme, and this is the knowledge nugget, things that we can use to get through this thing called life, any guides or tools that can help us be better people to ourselves and to each other. And this week in the Nacho Supreme, the knowledge nugget is jumping the gun and not waiting on facts. There have been some things going on in my immediate virtual family, and I've been witness to see some people not hesitate to go left and ruin lives with lives, meaning that they can actually ruin someone's real life existence by going live with lies, running with rumors, not being humble enough to say alleged, or to give room for what they may not know, and speaking very matter of fact. It's a little heartbreaking to see how easy people can be intoxicated by the attention they can receive on this internet and on these social media platforms. And they don't care if they tell a lie or make up something, as long as they can get the thrill of the moment of that attention they receive. And unfortunately, repercussions can hurt more than what may be realized in the moment. I want to encourage my listening audience to be slow to jump the gun when you hear certain information, certain wild accusations about people. A lot of times people have motives that we don't even have a clue to make certain accusations, or to be so encouraged to make certain accusations. They may have motives that we're not privy to. And there's nothing wrong with waiting on facts. There's nothing wrong with waiting to see what other sides of the story can I be patient enough to listen to, so that I can frame this story in a way, or this situation in a way, that allows me to think about it intelligently and not just one-sided. I saw um, a platform go live for several hours to encourage rumor and unfounded accusations about an EBL member, former member, and it concerned me how fast it ran and got around, and without any benefit of doubt, without any intelligent question asking, without any vetting of where the information was coming from. So again, I implore my audience to be slow to jump the gun, and do not feel uneasy about waiting on facts. There's nothing wrong with getting the sides to the story. Sometimes, we may feel that we have good reason to only need one side of the story, but the more context you have, the more intelligently you can think about things, and rationally put it into its proper perspective. And I think that's necessary, especially in an age where we have the internet, and things can travel, information can travel faster than we can control it. And unfortunately, negative information, lies, rumor, things that don't paint people in the best light tend to travel fast. It tends to travel sometimes without even touching the ground. It just seems to fly. Where when it's time to tell the truth, and it's time to really set the record straight, those things need a push that a lie never needs. It's got to start off crawling, and then a little bit of walking, and a little bit of running, and then maybe it'll catch wind. But it definitely has a harder time against the lie when it comes to getting around to the ears that heard the initial negativity. So I want to encourage my audience to be slow to jump the gun, and don't fret in waiting on facts. It's many times it's necessary, and as a lot of my audience has said about some things that they find on the internet, certain things don't age well. Certain things don't. When you have to go back and eat those words, that's when it's in those moments that you need to find humility. There are people who are so quick to be the first to something, even if it's not correct. They value being first to something more than being correct to something. And in this internet age, that's a really sad state of affairs, because you have people who do not have a certain integrity with information, and who gets hurt, they don't always fathom that or factor that in when it comes to them being first with this information. So wait on the truth. Wait on the truth. Understand that there is no shame in the facts when that's what you're using to state your space, and to make up something, especially to the detriment of somebody's real life, where you've got somebody knocking on their door, or you've got somebody who is facing some legality because of something you made up online. People have real lives that they have to sort these things out. Some of these things that might be a prank to you in the moment, these people might have to deal with for a lot longer than what you may have anticipated. And when you're on to your next prank, you're on to your next, who can I lie on? This person is still trying to get their life back in order, and you're none the wiser. Just be slow to jump the gun when you hear people being so accusatory of awful things. We are in a state where we can look up stuff. We can Google something. We can .com something. We can check it out. We can see for ourselves. We don't have to listen to people who are attention hungry or even drunk on attention to the point that they're willing to say awful things about people to get that attention. We don't have to live there. We can look up things for ourselves. We can have our own experience with the information and to some degree, our own experience with the people. If we think that we've heard something about somebody that may not be true, in some instances, you really can reach out to that person and be like, hey, what's up? What's going on with this? So just wait on facts. Don't be so eager to run on the attention train. It's not always going in the right direction. And with that said, that's the close of our nacho. I enjoyed devouring the nacho with you guys this week. I do want to slide over to my chat just for a second before we get out of here. But our Bunny was still in our chat communicating with us. We appreciate you pulling up, Bunny. Thank you so much. And 2-1 is keeping us laughing in the chat. Yes. Boo-boo patties. We cannot do it. There's no good reason to eat that at all, ever. This is why I don't eat meat. And with that said, we are out, you guys. Have a great beginning to your week. And we'll see you back here again at 6 o'clock on Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. And we out.
Get ready for it.
I wanted to come back on cam just for a second. I know I normally don't do this, but apparently we have somebody in our chat who is not too happy with the show. Zuli said that Nacho, you are so pretentious. It's sickening. Please note that there are plenty of things that you could do with your Sunday. You don't have to be here. Again, if you're over here, I assume you're here for Nacho's opinion, whereas Nacho's opinion is Nacho's opinion. And if you don't like the opinion, you are free to leave. We don't hold anybody here by against their will. There are other shows that you can give your attention to if you don't like my pretentiousness. Y'all have a great Sunday.